The bird spent its entire life trying to escape. The tragedy was that the door had been open all along. In a quiet village surrounded by mountains, a small bird lived inside a wooden cage. Every morning it woke to the same view, the same bars, the same perch, the same narrow patch of sky beyond the window. Years passed. The bird never stopped staring at the world outside. The wind moving through trees, clouds drifting freely across the horizon, other birds soaring wherever they wished. And every day, the bird wished for only one thing: freedom. It pulled at the bars, pecked at the wood, flapped its wings desperately against the cage, again and again and again. Nothing changed. The cage remained. The bird slowly became convinced of something. Escape was impossible. As months became years, the bird's efforts grew weaker. The struggle faded. The hope faded. Eventually, even the dream faded. The bird stopped trying. It still looked outside, but now there was sadness in its eyes, not longing, resignation. It had accepted its prison. Then one morning something unusual happened. A strong storm rolled through the mountains. Rain struck the village roofs. Wind rattled windows. Branches bent under the force of the storm. And during the chaos, the cage door swung open, just slightly. The bird noticed. For a moment, its heart raced. Freedom, the thing it had wanted for years, the thing it had dreamed about every day. The opening was right there, waiting. But the bird did nothing. Hours passed. The door remained open. Still, the bird stayed exactly where it was. Because a strange thing had happened over the years. The cage no longer existed only around the bird. It existed inside the bird. Its body was trapped by wood, but its mind was trapped by belief. The bird had repeated the same conclusion for so long: I cannot escape, that it no longer questioned whether it was true. Days passed. The door stayed open, yet the bird never moved. Then one afternoon, an old traveler stopped beside the window. He noticed the open cage immediately, and then he noticed something even stranger. The bird wasn't leaving. The traveler sat quietly and watched. Minutes became hours. Finally, he spoke softly. You know the door is open. The bird looked toward him, then looked away. The traveler smiled sadly, because he had seen this before. Not in birds, in people. People trapped by old fears, old failures, old opinions, old versions of themselves. People who had convinced themselves they were powerless long after the chains had disappeared. The traveler stood slowly. Before leaving, he said one final thing. The strongest cage is not made of wood. It is made of certainty. Silence filled the room. For the first time in years, the bird looked carefully at the open door. Not quickly, not fearfully, carefully. Then something shifted. A possibility. A question. What if the prison was gone? The bird stepped closer. Its heart pounded. One step, then another. The open sky waited beyond the cage. The bird stood at the doorway for a long moment.
Years of fear fought against a single moment of courage. Then, finally, it jumped. For one terrifying second, it fell. Then its wings opened, the wind caught beneath them, and suddenly the bird was flying. Higher than the rooftops, higher than the trees, higher than it had ever imagined. The world stretched endlessly beneath the sky. The world had not changed. The cage had not changed. Only one thing had changed. The bird had stopped believing it belonged there. And that is the tragedy of many lives. The door opens, the opportunity appears, the chains disappear, but people remain trapped, not by reality, by the story they continue telling themselves. Because sometimes the prison is gone long before the prisoner realizes it.